There's a moment in every political fight when the room suddenly realizes something terrifying. No one actually has the votes.
Which means the entire meeting turns into a scavenger hunt for one person.
The swing vote.
The person who isn't running the meeting, but suddenly decides the outcome.
Today, we're talking about the most powerful position in any unstable coalition. Not the leader, the pivot player.
Welcome back to Outwit, Outplay, Outorganize. I'm Tykee James.
And I'm Claire Douglas. Last episode, we watched the Davids win power and then immediately start losing control of it.
Carl overplayed his leadership. Gabby realized she was vulnerable to be eliminated. And suddenly the coalition that just ran the island collapsed.
Just like that, 8 players remain, and the board is wide open.
While there are 3 loose factions, there is no clear or stable majority.
Which means Survivor has entered one of the most dangerous phases of the game, the swing vote economy.
So, Claire, what's today's thesis?
Here it is. When a coalition has an unstable majority, the most powerful player isn't the leader. It's the person who decides which leader survives. So let's map out the board. After Carl leaves, the game resets. Possible factions look like this. Group 1, Davey, Nick, Angelina. Group 2, Allison, Kara, and Mike. Group 3, Christian and Gabby.
3 groups, 8 players, so you need 5 votes to control the game at Tribal Council.
Yep, which means nobody has the majority. And when nobody has a majority, power shifts elsewhere.
It shifts to the pivot players.
Exactly. Christian and Gabby suddenly become the most important pair in the game. Not because they're the biggest alliance, but because they decide which alliance becomes the majority. Political scientists sometimes call this the median voter problem. But in campaigns, we call it something simpler. The pivot player or the swing player.
The person whose vote or support creates or prevents a majority from forming.
Exactly. The pivot player doesn't run the coalition, but they determine if the coalition wins or loses.
Which means everyone suddenly wants to talk to them.
And they become the most courted people in the game. Every alliance is suddenly saying, hey, I just want to check in.
And you all know that this is code for please vote with us, or at least please don't vote against us.
You can imagine all the lobbyists and special interests like knocking on the doors of decision makers, trying to get them out to dinner or come to an event or whatever. And if you're the pivot player, your job is to listen and not commit.
Just like Joe Manchin.
Because once you're in that position, something else shifts too. What actually counts as power. In stable coalition, power comes from numbers. In unstable coalitions, power comes from what you know and when you know it. Everyone wants to know who's flipping, who's lying, and who's vulnerable.
Which is why Survivor suddenly becomes a lot of whispering, a lot of this, a lot of that.
Because information controls timing, and timing controls the vote. And that shift from numbers to information is exactly what makes the pivot player so powerful and so risky. Here's the paradox of pivot power. Pivot players have enormous influence, but they also become extremely dangerous targets.
Because everybody knows they can flip the game.
Exactly. So the smartest pivot player never act like leaders. They act like listeners.
Which is hard for a lot of people. Except our podcast listeners, you are all great listeners.
Yes, thank you for that. Because people love declaring victory early, but pivot players survive by staying ambiguous.
Political chameleons.
Yeah, I see you, Lisa Murkowski.
Ooh.
This is why dominant leaders often get voted out during this phase. Leaders look dangerous. Pivot players look useful.
Which is a brutal lesson.
And a very real one. The person with the most visible power is often the easiest target. The person with the most leverage is often the quietest in the room.
All right, bird nerds, welcome back to Winning on the Wing. Today, we're talking about starling murmurations, those massive clouds of birds that move together like a single organism. Claire, have you seen one of those before?
Oh, I sure have. It's actually one of the coolest things I've seen in nature.
Well, here's the wild part. Within that massive cloud of birds, there's no permanent leader. The flock moves based on small local signals. A few birds change direction this way, and the entire formation knows when to shift.
Which is exactly how unstable coalitions behave. One pivot player moves, and suddenly the entire vote changes.
But for the birds, it's an evolutionary advantage.
Do schools of fish also murmurate?
I guess, but I'm more of a bird guy personally.
Yeah.
I don't know what the fish are up to.
Okay. I should probably know that. I did a lot of oceans work. Well, to be Googled.
But either way, for the birds, it makes it harder for a single predator to chase a single bird. It makes it much harder for the predator to even want to get into that chase, to get into that fight.
All right, Tykee, my bird nerd. Let's say you're running a coalition campaign. 4 organizations. 2 want strategy A, 2 want strategy B. You're in the middle. What's your move?
Maybe there's an opportunity to highlight one Ronald McDonald. He is a resident of Philadelphia. He has a very strong statement around this where he says he plays both sides so that he always comes out on top.
Oh, tell me, what is this? What is this you speak of? Is this a McDonald's?
This is a reference to Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Oh.
Yeah, Mac.
No,
His
yeah,
name's
let's
Mac.
walk it back. It's a TV reference. Let's go. Let's hear it.
Well, he, in a gang of 5 other people, 2 go in that direction, 2 go in this direction. And so there will be a 5th person who is often in the middle, the pivot player. And in the situations where it's Mac, he brings up a very powerful statement. He plays both sides so that he always ends up on top.
I'm playing both sides so that I always come out on top.
Oh, I love it.
But here's the thing. You can't stay on the fence forever, pivot player. If you stay on the fence forever, you're going to chafe, right? Now, you don't have leverage because you're not leaning in any particular way.
Oh, yeah.
So you got to use it or lose it, pivot player.
I just forgot that Mac's name was Ronald McDonald.
I love showing my deep knowledge of Always Sunny in Philadelphia lore.
Okay, Tykee, 4 organizations. 2 want strategy A, 2 want strategy B, and you're in the middle. What's the move?
First instinct, create a group chat of chaos and share screenshots of what everyone is saying about each other.
I mean, I know you're joking, but that's incorrect. That's very, very incorrect. So keep walking me through.
Okay. Restarting then. I think the first thing is that I use the 2 ears I was given to listen first. Listen twice as hard.
Those beautiful ears, yes. That's a great start. But let's be precise, because listening is one of those words people say and then immediately ignore. Listening as a pivot player is not being quiet. It is gathering intelligence. You're tracking, what does each side want? What do they actually need? And where is their flexibility? Versus where are they completely dug in? Because power is relational. If you don't understand the relationships, you can't move them. So let's make this concrete. What does that kind of listening actually sound like in practice?
So I'm assuming not like, I hear you. Let's circle back.
No, that's fake listening.
Okay.
That's nonprofit customer service voice. Real pivot listening sounds like, what are you actually trying to protect here? If you don't get this, what happens for you? What's your red line versus your preference? You're not choosing yet. You're mapping leverage. Because once you declare a side, your leverage disappears. So you better choose wisely. Insert Raiders of the Lost Ark when Indiana Jones picks the right goblet and doesn't turn into dust.
You have chosen wisely.
You have chosen wisely.
Good for him.
Yeah. And once you understand how to listen like that, the next question is, when does that leverage matter most? So here's the part people miss. Timing changes everything. Being a pivot player early in the game, that's nice. Being a pivot player when there's just 7 people left, that's the entire game. Because as numbers shrink, each vote becomes more powerful.
Right. Because at 7 players, it takes 4 votes to send someone home. One person flipping changes the entire outcome.
Yep. That means the pivot isn't just in the middle. They are the fulcrum.
It's like the one European starling shifting direction, and suddenly the entire murmuration turns with it.
Yes, small movement, massive consequence. And here's the trade-off. As your vote becomes more valuable, your relationships become more fragile because everyone knows you're the swing. So they start asking, are they actually with me? Or am I just a temporary number? And this is where pivot players lose. Not because they picked the wrong side, but because no one trusted them enough to keep them. And if you want to see this play out perfectly, let's talk about Gabby in episode 12. It's late in the game, tight numbers, Gabby's in the middle. She has a very strong alliance with Christian, relationships across the tribe, and real information flow. She is a textbook pivot player.
So she's in the bird's eye position. She's able to see things from a bird's eye view, if you will.
I like what you did there. Yeah, she's been listening. She understands the board, and she identifies something important. If she continues to be seen as Christian's sidekick, she's going to lose.
It's go big or go home. And what bigger move than going against your closest ally who happens to be the biggest threat in the game?
That read was correct, but then here comes a mistake. So she decides to make a move.
And when she makes her move, it is not to outwit, outplay, or out-organize the competition, unfortunately.
No, she really shot the bed.
Hate to see it, but it happens.
She tries to blindside her closest ally, her ride or die. That's Christian. And on paper, it looks like strategy. But in reality, it's a timing error like no other.
Well, then what happens?
Kara wins immunity, so the options narrow. The numbers are fractured. Trust is already thin. And Gabby flips. But she doesn't have the numbers locked. So instead of Christian going home...
13th person voted out and the 6th member of our jury.
Oh my
Gabby,
God.
need to bring me your torch?
Wow.
Gabby, tribe has spoken.
Gabby goes home. So why did she lose, Tykee?
Well, it seems like she played her cards right. She just played them too early.
Yeah, she had the right read, right? Like she would not have been voted on to win at the end of the game as just Christian's sidekick. But the moment was wrong. She moved before securing a majority, aligning her coalition, and managing how people would interpret her move. So what did everyone else see? Not a strategist, a liability. And here's the brutal math. The second you show you're willing to cut off your closest ally, everyone starts recalculating. If she'll do that to him, what is she going to do to me? And just like that, poof, your value as a pivot turns into a reason to get you eliminated.
This feels a lot like coalition politics.
It is. We worked with coalition once. Same setup. One organization decided we don't want to be seen as the junior partner anymore. So they broke ranks early before they had the numbers, the independent base, the strong base, or even the strategy to carry out the fight. And instead of becoming the leader, they got cut out of the decision-making process entirely because campaigns run on trust and coordination. If people can't predict you, they can't build with you either. Tykee, you've been a lobbyist. You are a lobbyist. Can you think of like a political analogy? I'm thinking like there's like a 50-50 Senate vote or something like that.
Well, a 50-50 Senate vote, relatively rare, but bills don't pass out of the Senate unless you have 60 votes and you can beat the filibuster. So really, we're looking at the 60-40 of are you the 60th vote on this issue? And it's between you and perhaps another senator that can decide whether this piece of legislation can advance in the Senate. They decide everything that moves there. And if they shift too often or become unpredictable, they don't gain power. They lose trust on both sides. And when both sides stop negotiating, not only are they no longer a pivot, they become politically irrelevant, where we won't come to you the next time a major decision might rely on your vote.
So the core strategic lesson that we're talking about, Gabby didn't lose because she flipped. She lost because she flipped before her power was fully built. Strategy is about turning what you have into what you need to get what you want. She had relationships, information, and positioning, but she hadn't yet turned that into a secure majority or a protected path forward. So the final ruling, if you're the pivot in a volatile moment, don't make the big move until you've made the safe move. Secure the numbers, then take the shot. Because if you move too early, you're not making a power play. The power played you, and you're going to get kicked out. Exit, stage left. Here's your power move. Build a pivot map of your coalition. Ask 3 questions. 1, who actually decides the majority? 2, who is influencing that person? And 3, what does the pivot player need to feel safe?
Because most campaigns waste time persuading everyone, because we love that strategy. If we just tell everyone we're right, they'll agree with us, and then we win.
You don't need massive educational campaigns and billboards everywhere when the real decision lives with just 1 or 2 people. From this point forward, Survivor stops being about tribes. It becomes about threat levels.
Who looks too dangerous to sit at the end?
And who survives long enough to make the final argument.
Next episode, we talk about the shift from chaos to consolidation.
Because insurgent coalitions can win with chaos.
But governing coalitions require discipline and a little bit of fun. If you're facing a Goliath and your slingshot feels a little flimsy, email us at hello@newfundamentals.com. Whether it's a question for the show or you want Claire to help you and your team find its slide puzzle solution, we want to hear from you.
And don't forget to follow and subscribe and leave us a review. That's how we find more regular people ready to win.
Until next time.
Outwit.
Outplay.
Out-organize.